Modern civilization runs on invisible measurements: the purity of your drinking water, the calibration of the altimeter on your next flight, the exact active ingredient dosage in a pharmaceutical. Society trusts these metrics implicitly. Yet these measurements are constantly threatened by microscopic equipment drift and hidden human biases. To combat those threats, the global scientific community relies on this document. This is the third edition of ISO IEC 17025, published in 2017. It serves as the definitive operating system for testing and calibration laboratories worldwide. The standard begins with a strict prerequisite: impartiality. Clause 4 dictates that a laboratory must be structurally isolated. It cannot allow commercial, financial, or internal pressures to influence the data it generates. True objectivity also requires strict confidentiality. A laboratory must legally commit to a secure lockdown of all proprietary information created or obtained during a test. The goal is clear. Before a single drop of liquid is pipetted or a weight is placed on a scale, the operational environment must be engineered to eliminate the possibility of human compromise. But an objective framework means nothing without absolute control over the physical reality of the lab. Clause 6 dictates exactly how a facility must govern its environmental conditions, and specifically the personnel conducting the work. This demonstrates metrological traceability. Every instrument reading must connect back to the International System of Units, or SI, through a documented, unbroken chain of calibrations. Maintaining these links requires authorizing specific personnel and rigorously documenting that all equipment is calibrated against physical deviations. Because sensors and scales inevitably drift over time, laboratories are required to execute planned maintenance and run intermediate checks to ensure those calibration chains never break. Ultimately, a digital readout on a screen is only as trustworthy as the unbroken math supporting it. When a physical sample arrives at the lab, the risk of cross-contamination is highest. ISO 17025 mandates strict handling, transportation, and storage procedures. Every item is distinctly identified and logged into the system so it is never confused with another. During the actual testing phase, covered in Clause 7.2, standard practices aren't simply assumed to be correct. Laboratories must explicitly verify and validate their methods, proving through data that they consistently meet required performance characteristics. This validation runs into a hard truth of physics: measurement uncertainty. No physical measurement is perfectly exact. There is always a margin of error. The standard requires laboratories to mathematically calculate the exact limits of that uncertainty, locking it into a defined numerical range. True scientific rigor does not mean claiming impossible perfection. It means mathematically defining the exact limits of your imperfection. Once the data is generated, it moves to the reporting stage. Here, raw, uncertain data is analyzed to deliver a definitive, legally defensible verdict for the client. Labs apply specific decision rules and statements of conformity. They evaluate the statistical curves against predefined limits to clearly declare a pass or fail. This schematic outlines the laboratory's overarching management system from Clause 8. Under this system, a true ISO 17025 lab acts as a self-correcting organism. It actively tracks non-conforming work and investigates customer complaints, routing that feedback directly into the operational pipeline. A single, simple test result is actually the final output of a massive interconnected architecture of quality control. This architecture is built to evolve. The management system requires laboratories to continually address risks and opportunities through planned internal audits and rigorous corrective actions. On a macroeconomic level, the implications are massive. Achieving ISO 17025 accreditation creates verified trust, which effectively breaks down international trade barriers. Because the standard is universally recognized, a product tested and passed in an accredited lab in one country is accepted worldwide without the friction of redundant retesting. You cannot buy this level of scientific certainty by simply stocking a room with the most expensive equipment. It has to be earned through an unyielding framework of competence and control. By systematically engineering doubt out of the equation, ISO 17025 leaves society with the only thing that matters: the truth.